A successful, productive classroom cannot flourish without clear and effective routines, rules, and procedures. My name is Beth Forehand.
And my name is Kelley Harlow. We are going to discuss several components of Competency 6, managing middle school and high school classrooms.
This is important for every class across the curriculum. However, it is particularly necessary in the agriculture classroom where student safety is a major factor day in and day out.
In a shop-based classroom, such as a welding or woodworking class, students are expected to operate the machinery skillfully, confidently, and safely on a daily basis. Students are expected to follow safety procedures and guidelines, not only for their own safety, but for the safety of their classmates as well.
Clearly defined rules help ensure student safety, aid in classroom management, and develop clear standards of behavior.
Having a routine keeps students focused on the task at hand and aware of time constraints, as well as expectations from the teacher.
Before students are even allowed to enter the shop, every single student must have a full understanding of the defined procedures and rules that will be enforced in the shop. Students must pass a safety test with 100% accuracy before being permitted into the shop.
Things that should be clearly listed in the shop rules and included on the test are as follows. Proper attire, including PPE or personal protective equipment. This means that students must wear eyeglasses at all times, long-sleeve shirts, pants with no holes, no jewelry, their hair must be tied back, and closed-toed shoes must be worn at all times. Further guidelines will be equipment specific, such as welding helmets, welding gloves, tinted safety glasses for torch cutting, masks for painting, and hearing protection during use of loud equipment.
It is also important to provide exact step-by-step instructions for students to follow when using the equipment. This should include how to assemble the machinery, such as connecting the torch, hoses, and regulators to the oxygen and acetylene bottles, inspecting each component for defects, in order of turning on the torch. This is important in this situation primarily due to the fact that high school students are in direct contact with flammable compressed gases. They need to have multiple demonstrations on the procedure and tested and passed before they are able to use it independently.
Another point brought up in our text is that rooms should be arranged for safety, ease of movement, and monitoring. There should be designated areas to use table saws, welders, cutting torches, etc. that are clearly taped off and free of water or flammables. The path between each area should be free of clutter and debris so that students can move freely between stations and the teacher can monitor students' actions without the danger of falling or tripping.
High school students sometimes feel a false sense of security because they think that nothing bad will happen to them. This mindset is dangerous when working in the shop. Welders produce heat from electrical currents hot enough to fuse metal together. An oxy-acetylene torch melts down iron. A grinder throws metal particles and wire pieces long distances. Saws have very sharp blades.
If students are too afraid, overly confident, or goofing around while using this equipment, major injuries could result. Students could be severely burned, electrocuted, amputate fingers, become impaled with sharp metal fragments, or get deep cuts and flesh wounds. Obviously, these can be largely avoided with proper use.
Something to take into consideration is to structure the environment to support appropriate behavior. It should be stated and reiterated that there should be no horseplay, running, pushing, pranks, or other potentially dangerous behavior inside the shop. It is also important to have posted standard procedures for things such as cleanup, equipment checks, and reporting injuries. This will help things flow easier in the classroom.
When it comes to creating routines, students should be conditioned to do exactly what is expected every time. While this will take time and practice, it is imperative to establish these routines from the very first day of class. This will standardize each class period and saves time by eliminating repetitive instruction from the teacher and reducing confusion from the student's perspective.
At 5 minutes until the bell rings, students should know to drop what they are doing, wipe down and put away used equipment or tools, change back into their regular clothes, sweep the floors, and store materials for their projects in designated areas so that the next class can easily access the shop. In the case of injury, no matter how small, students should know to immediately turn off the machinery and tell the teacher so that the injury can be documented and cared for. This may seem futile, however, in 50 minutes, every minute is valuable.
Additionally, it is important that students know that their actions have consequences. If the students are aware of the disciplinary action that will be taken after a rule is broken, they are more likely to follow them. They should also realize that their actions can negatively impact their peers by causing them harm or injury. If there is a major problem with a student being unsafe or not following procedure, that particular student's shop privileges should be revoked for the day.
On the flip side, students should be rewarded for good behavior and encouraged to practice good habits. By doing this, you are reinforcing the students' good behaviors and maintaining their interest and reaching expectations. This is a great approach to being proactive rather than reactive to discipline problems.
If a teacher expects persistent positive behavior, she should regulate her classroom persistently. This means avoiding inconsistent responses to misbehavior, ignoring undesirable behavior, or only enforcing rules on certain students.
A teacher should never degrade a student, plead with or bribe students, or compare them to another student. Instead, the teacher should maintain composure and communicate understanding while enforcing expectations.
Ideally, your classroom should reach a point of optimal operation where the students regulate themselves and follow rules with minimal problems. Students should feel comfortable enough in class to take risks such as designing their own projects or troubleshooting errors when a welder is not running as desired without having to consult with the teacher at every turn.
A way to make sure students feel ownership for their classroom is to assign a weekly shop foreman who has the responsibility of offering help with minor questions or alerting classmates of dangers or the approaching cleanup time. This will help to create responsible students who work collaboratively and support each other, in turn creating a positive learning environment.
Managing a classroom that is safe, productive, and conducive to learning is possible when the teacher implements certain guidelines.
Clearly defining rules, enforcing daily routines, and practicing procedures is key to having a successful, ideal classroom where students enjoy taking responsibility for their own education.